Hello, hello, everybody. Welcome to Planet FPL, the world where everything revolves around fantasy Premier League. My name's Suj.
And my name is James.
James, what's going on? End of another weekend. My football team won, yours lost, but at least we both got some FPL points for a change.
Yeah, me one, yeah.
Yeah. That's all good. I got a captaincy return, so I am taking that as a win. First of the season. A fairly mixed weekend again, I would say, from an FPL point of view. I've seen scores down in the 30s and 40s for people where there's been a lot of captaincy fails. I would say, like, a lot of people gambled on Cunha and things like that have had horrible luck in terms of
Unlucky.
injuries. And then also, obviously, some scores in the 70s and 80s as well, where people have had good defensive returns and good attacking returns as well.
Yeah, I've seen some 20s again this week. Seen some very good scores knocking about as well. I don't think we get more fluctuation, it feels like, this stage of the season, that generally speaking, across the board. Particularly if you, I mean, just look at that. If you went Cunha, I mean, Fernandez and Boomer have popped off basically, and Cunha 1 point. I'm like, you're really unlucky. It's no other way of putting it than that.
Yeah, had he stayed on the pitch for the whole 90, maybe he would have been the one that picked up the returns. You don't know, right? So, yeah, it's been a funny old weekend. We're going to cover off all of the games as we do each and every week. James, just to say, like, obviously, jury service is done, so normal services is resuming this week from a content point of view, particularly mainly on like timings more than anything else, because we did manage to get a full week of stuff out whilst you've been away. But I bet you're glad to see the back of it.
Oh yeah, 100%, mate. 100%. I'm feeling guilty, not.
Good. So we'll cover off the games in a second. Do you want to give everybody a flavour of what we're going to do for the rest of the week? It is international break. So England are obviously playing as well as all of the nation. So we have a little bit of kind of not downtime, but respite in between now and the next set of FPL fixtures for game week 4. Quite a lot of people might want to wildcard during this time. I've seen
Yes.
a few that have already activated and what have you, which always is a very popular time, the first international break. Quite often after 4 weeks, it's 3 weeks now. So let's see. But yeah, what kind of stuff do people have to look forward to for the rest of this week before we get into our
The
scores?
excitement of England playing Andorra this weekend is too much for me. I'm not sure I'll be able to get through this. We've got two clash of correspondence for you this week. We've actually got four before the game week 4 deadline. We've got West Ham Tottenham with Christo and Ricky Saunders, and Bournemouth Brighton with Neil Grover and Sam Murray next week. Tomorrow, I've got the Manchester Derby for you, Johnny Pringle and Alex Trembar. From Wednesday, another local derby, Brentford v Chelsea. Tom Med, Gary Mantle, Lauren Harris joining me for a preview of the WSL season on Thursday. That starts this weekend. David will be back with me for the weekender. On Patreon, we got a Q&A today. Tottenham tomorrow, reacting to a busy day in the transfer window. Hopefully, I guess, for Tottenham and West Ham, and differing weekends. It was your turn to celebrate this time. Money in Football on Wednesday. We're piloting a new show on Thursday on Patreon. That show with Nico. And on Friday, Ask James is on Patreon this week. If you want to support the show, it's www.patreon.com/Planet FPL. So just tell everyone about your great game week.
59 points for the first captain return of the season, with Bruno Fernandes making up a big chunk of that with 20 points. Very happy with that. Attacking returns for Jared Bowen and João Pedro. Both could have had more. Even Bruno Fernandes could have had more. And defensive points for Virgil van Dijk with a bit of bonus in there as well. Or was it a def? They got bonus. Thank you to the
He did hit DEFCON as
Optagods.
well
Did he?
with Fernandez.
No. No, Van Dijk.
Oh, sorry, no. Van Dijk got two
No, Van
bonus,
Dijk.
yeah.
Yeah. And thank you to the Optagods who found an extra little defensive contribution for Porro as well, because I think that went up overnight, didn't it, to Defcon? When I
Yeah.
looked at the end of the game, he didn't have it, and then he all of a sudden did.
Can I have a quick moan about that? I mean, I own
Uh,
Porro as well, so it's worked out for me. But we've had, again, and I moaned about this quite a bit last season, we've had a scenario where Maxence Lacroix would have had an extra one, so he would have had two bonus added onto him from last night's game. But the game was already
but
closed, so they can't add it.
yeah, I
I
get
mean,
that.
we've got 2 weeks till like the next deadline. This needs, they won't change it now, so it's kind of a mute point. They have to change that next year. It's wrong. Okay, so you've had Porro go up. It's fine. That's correct. Lacroix can't go up because, it's the last game of the game week. That's
Yeah.
completely wrong. They've got to
Yeah.
put something in place for next season where there's a 24-hour grace.
That's why I'm not going to win FPL this year. Your stupid rules, but no, it's all good. Blanks elsewhere. Look, Matt Sells is blank. Couldn't care less about. Very disappointing from the Manchester City boys to not pick up any returns from them. And Eight Nori down to 0 points after conceding 2 and a yellow card was a bit of a disappointment. Elliot Anderson, the Mr. 11 Defcons. They can't Opta can't do nothing about that, right? It's
No.
the one transfer of the week that I felt I was gonna gamble on was selling Cole Palmer for Harvey Barnes. At the end of the day, I just wanted to look for something that had big upside and was a little bit of a punt, to be honest with you, as opposed to trying to play it safe. And Harvey Barnes was the one. It ended up him and Elanga dropping out and Newcastle dropping an absolute stinker. So I'm not losing too much sleep over that Harvey Barnes yet because it's Wolves at home next. And if he then returns me a nice double-digit return, then it will have made it worthwhile. I bought him for 3 game weeks. I'm going to play him for 3 game weeks. I'm going to judge him at the end of 3 game weeks. Bench, James. Dubravka Gabriel, 2-pointer, but Dewsbury Hall, 12-pointer, and Magic Diff with a 10-pointer. So I think there's going to be a running theme where every week until I play my next bench boost, my bench is going to score more than my Gameweek 1 bench boost.
Probably.
26 points on the bench. No regrets there whatsoever, though, because it's kind of reinforced in my mind that Diouf and Dewsbury Hall will stick around as fourth or fifth defender. Actually, Diouf's going to end up being my 4th defender, and Dewsbury Hall's perfect as an 8th attacker.
Yeah, I mean, you were never going to play Diouf. With what you had, I don't think we're going to play Dewsbury Hall. And there's a few people thought on my stream, I should have played Dewsbury Hall over one of the 2 Liverpool attackers because they were playing Arsenal. Never going to bench a Liverpool attacker.
No, not at Anfield as well.
No.
Yeah, exactly that. The only circumstance that I would have played Dewsbury Hall is if I decided to bench Cole Palmer, and then I'd have probably played Gabriel. Because I think you said it in your deadline stream, like he scored at the Anfield last year, he scored at the Etihad last year. Like Gabriel has a habit of picking up goals in these games. And in the end, it was a 2-pointer, so I'm happy to have benched him. But I probably wouldn't have paid Dewsbury Hall even if I'd have kept Palmer. So, yeah, no regrets over it whatsoever. It's just reinforced in my mind where I'm going strategy-wise. I've got too much money in my defence, James, in terms of Virgil van Dijk, Gabriel, Porro, 8 Nori, and then Diouf as my 5th defender. Diouf with his 2nd assist of the season so far. And again, showing how attacking he is, right? The first assist for Paqueta's goal against Chelsea was a fortuitous assist because he hasn't really created the goal there. Paqueta's gone and done all the work, but they still count as points, right? So I'm pretty clear in my mind now that 8 Nori's going to go. I'm going to completely scrape that down to to a 4 million. Not necessarily this week, but he's going to go down to a 4 million defender to free up money. It's highly likely that Erling Haaland will come in for Ollie Watkins, though again, it might not be this week. If I could wave a wand, I'd go 8 Nori to Rodon. I'd go Barnes to Semenyo. I'd go Watkins to Haaland. And eventually I'd go Bowen to Gyökeres. But none of those moves are like...
Can you afford all that, boss?
Yeah. None of those. I've got 6.8 in the bank or 6.3 in the bank right now. I could go Watkins to Haaland in one move if I wanted to. I could go.
How have you got all that money in the bank, mate?
Because I sold Cole Palmer for Harvey Barnes.
Yeah.
And I sold Florian Wirtz for Reinders the week before. So I've been stacking the cash.
Bloody hell.
Stacking the
cash. Are you attempting to captain in 4?
I haven't decided yet, to be honest with you. It all depends on whether or not I buy Erling Haaland. I haven't been overly enamoured with, let's be honest, with City, but it is at home. and Manchester United have just conceded two to Burnley. So there's definitely goals in there for Erling Haaland. He did a very un-Erling Haaland-like thing at the weekend, James, where he got maximum bonus points off just one goal, which normally doesn't happen. If it's a goal, it's only a six-pointer for him. So not sure yet who I will captain, to be honest with you. It might be João Pedro as a potential, but yeah, hadn't decided as such yet.
Yeah, I mean, for me at the moment, it's probably any one of Pedro, Gakpo, or Ismail Assar. I think for me at the moment, I think if he was in a position to get Haaland in, it's going to be such a move for him in six. I think, particularly if Mo doesn't do great over the next 2 weeks, to be ahead of that curve, so I don't think would be the worst thing in the world.
Yeah, I like the Manchester United at home fixture. Obviously, don't like the Arsenal away fixture. I'm just figuring out if there's a better way of manoeuvring it to get him in six, or just get it done for game week 4, which is most likely what I'll end up doing.
They lost. I want to say they lost 5-1 at the Emirates last year, and he scored.
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure he scored the
yeah,
City goal. So I mean, if you captain him four, you'd obviously captain him in six. I think if you owned.
oh yeah, yeah,
I'd
yeah, yeah, for sure.
if you want to go to Haaland, I'd be strongly considering getting that done. I mean,
It
selling
might be
Jared Bowen
triple
against Tottenham
captaincy.
though, so
It might be triple captaincy, but you're in six if you
six,
think
yeah,
about it. Burnley at home. The one blessing for, well, I say blessing. The thing in its favour for City is the fact that they've just lost two games in a row. Like they're going to be thinking, right? They can't afford to keep dropping points. Like I don't think they're going to be in a title race based on what we've seen so far, but they will still think that they are in a title race, and they cannot afford to keep dropping points like
yeah.
this. So
I heard all this last year.
yeah, I get it, but I just hope mentally they're in the mindset of right. Okay, we've got to win at home against Manchester United. We've got to win at home against Burnley, and so captaining Haaland for those two seems well worth it.
United's strength is probably on transition, and it's where City are most vulnerable. We'll be
Yeah,
discussing on TOTC.
yeah, yeah. You did well this week, James. 72 points, is it?
Yeah, good week. Yeah, I mean Fernandez captaincy, but the late penalty obviously helps. I sold Palmer for Ismail Assar, which I'm absolutely delighted with. Although he might be injured, that might have a bearing on what happens for me next. He actually had the highest XG in the league over the weekend, Ismail Assar. So from a
Really?
decision perspective, that sounds
I mean, he's
amazing.
been that way for a little while. He's had good stats, hasn't he?
Although obviously the goal he scores is a mega XG, so that's obviously had a huge bearing on that. And I think there was an overestimate on the headed chance he missed in the first half as well. So yeah, I bought Saar, so Saar returned, Fernandez captain, Van Dijk returned, Porro's Defcon. I started with Lucas Perry in goal over for Bruggen, which was a real coin flip. So I chose the narrative on Newcastle being lighter players up front. If I could have seen that Newcastle team, I wouldn't have hesitated to make that decision. João Pedro 9, and obviously very pleased with Jared Bowen's 9 because a lot of the questions on my well, not a lot of the questions, few of the comments on my deadline stream was, what are you still doing with Bowen now? And I know what it's going to be before game week 4 as well. What are you still doing with Watkins there? Like, I know what these players are.
Yeah, yeah,
So,
yeah,
patience can is a lot of people would have gone Bowen to Wood this week, and I don't think that they're particularly wrong, but patience can play in this game as well. So can aggression. So yeah, good
yeah,
week for me. What
yeah.
happens next? Ideally, it's roll. For me, game week 4 doesn't look brilliant, but it's ideally roll. But I've got a few question marks in terms of potential flags. So Verts, I think, was probably cramp slash dead leg. Again, I'm not. I've seen these 3 games and now they're playing Burnley. I'm selling. No, no. If he'll drop in price, it's fine. He's not going anywhere as long as he's fit. Sarr obviously got booked, which probably took him out the bonus as well. And it looked like a horrendous dive, but he did clutch his hamstring as well. Then I think we all thought, that's a really bad fake because he carried on for a couple of minutes, but then he went off and was feeling it. So I obviously have to keep an eye on that as well. So those two I need to keep an eye on in terms of their status. It's international break. The transfer window is still open today. I recommend early transfers probably be off the table at this stage, unless those are obviously playing about with their teams on wildcards or free hits. So yeah, let's see what the next week or so brings. I think for people in a similar position for me, good time to switch off really and not overthink game week 4 at this stage. Let's see how we look in a week's time. We'll obviously look, we're recording on Monday morning and the transfer window's open, so there's going to be new information probably by the time this podcast comes out. We're going to go through all of that later in the week and then we'll revisit this time next week and see how we feel a bit more detail. Good time to switch off. Don't look at price changes if you can help it at the moment. The info is more important.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes price changes don't even help as well, though. See, because I moved on Cole Palmer on Saturday morning. I left it on Friday night, though I don't. I think that was my fault for leaving it, as opposed to because, yeah, I mean, he showed at 75%, and I did think, looking at the price predictors, that it's not gonna go sod it. I'll just leave it. But I made the move anyway, even though the price dropped. So I probably should have just got it done because I knew in my heart that I wanted to do it anyway. Yeah, sometimes you go gut instinct over what the data shows because price predicting is such a unscientific guesswork process, right? It's so tricky.
I mean, I'd already gone to bed, but Ragaboli posted just before the kind of the sort of 10 minutes before the end of the deadline. He was like, look, it looks like he's going to go now. The volume is just so excessive. He'd said earlier in the day on live FPL, he said, look, it's looking unlikely. But I looked at that and went, well, unlikely means it could. I know what I'm doing. Let's get it done. Generally speaking, guys, if you're 90% threshold and it's that important to you, like make the move. Yeah.
Yeah, agreed. Good.
And shout out to what he's doing on live FPL, by the way. He's doing amazing work in terms of the price predictions at the moment.
Yeah, it's hard. It's hard to get right. Like it's such a black box of who knows what the criteria around price changes is. So yeah.
Cool. Have we got new sponsors? That's a free plug there for Black Box, isn't it? Shout out, lads.
It's a Black Box. It's not FPL Black Box, but they can have a shout out if they want one. Absolutely. Cool. Let's talk about these games and rattle through the 10 games that we had at the weekend, starting with Chelsea at home to Fulham. Chelsea 2, Fulham 0. Could easily have been a very different game had the Josh King goal stood and Fulham took a lead, although I suppose West Ham took a lead before and Chelsea did come back. I don't think Chelsea aren't like firing on all cylinders at the moment, but they're still just really effective with the players that they have. I didn't think in the first half that they were particularly great and then still ended up going in 1-0 up and you're thinking, right, these guys just seem to be able to get a result at the moment.
Yeah, much stronger defensively than what they've been. Yes, they could have been 1-0 down here. Can I do my piece on the foul pairs first? It feels like we have to discuss it because it's been such a hot topic this weekend.
Well, I mean, I haven't seen anybody disagree with it.
Okay, well, you're about to. Yeah. I'm in the minority here, and I know I'm in the minority. I think it's a foul. For clarity, I don't want it overturned, as in the cancelling of the goal. I am so anti-VAR. Everybody knows that. I've been screaming this for 6 odd years. It's wasting your breath. You ain't going to get VAR. So, oh yeah, we're not going to use it anymore. Like, you're only going to get bigger implementations of VAR. The reason I think it's a foul, and I completely understand the logic of the refereeing, is if you watch it back, what I want you to do is watch Rodrigo Muniz's left foot. Because a lot of people are saying, oh, he put his right foot on the ball, so he's in control. Watch his left foot back, because what we do on this, we obsess on the contact. With his left foot, he's trying to swipe the ball back. So he does what we call it a double drag back. So he steps over it on his right and he's trying to drag it on his left foot away from Chalobah. He gets nowhere near with that drag back. And as a consequence, steps in towards Chalobah. It's a complete accident. But when VAR wants the microscope on these things, it's going to look at the contact. And clearly, Muniz lands accidentally on Chalobah's foot. It probably hurt. Chalobah then was impeded, as in he can't get towards the ball. It's a foul. But there's been such a reaction to it. Now these wankers at PGMOL have now gone as well. Oh yeah, shit, we got it wrong. Let's demote the referee, etc. I totally agree, by the way, that the bar isn't high enough for that decision to cancel the goal. Guess what's going to happen next now? We're going to have ones that's like, I think that's 90% a foul probably, and they ain't going to overturn it, because now this is what always happens with them when they cock up. They go so far the other way. So do I want that goal disallowed, No, because I just would rather A, scrap it, and B, I agree that I think the bar should be higher. It's not like, oh, Muniz then swiveled and shot and scored. There's still a lot that happens afterwards. But if VAR is going to microscopically look at things, they're going to look at that and go, well, he trod on his foot. It's a foul. And I think the reaction that I've seen from a lot of people, it's one of the worst decisions I've ever seen and stuff. He's so over the top. I think it's a judgmental call. And because it's a judgmental call, by the way, therefore I agree that the goal should probably still stand. But
Yeah, I
it's
mean,
not that black and white
this
everybody's been
no,
making it
no.
out.
I think
It's like we've
what
been
you're
bored for
describing
2 weeks because there haven't been many bad
No,
decisions, is
I
how it
think
feels
it's
to me.
more what are we saying is wrong? Are we saying that the decision, the actual, is it a foul, is it not a foul, is wrong? Or are we saying that the bar of them interfering is wrong? Because it's a contact sport where stuff like that's going to happen, right? And for me as well, like if you step on someone's foot, it's a foul, right? Because he's not going to be able to run or whatever. I think the act of him stepping on Chalobah's foot is a foul. I agree with you, but also in the context of a game of football being played, sometimes that, like, the
Of
ref
course, there's
didn't
going to be
call it.
contact.
Yeah, exactly that. And it's at what point is it like a foul, or it was just coming together of players where it couldn't have been helped necessarily, and you just got to get on with the game and play it rather than have
So
everything
what it
stop,
needs to
start, stop,
be
start.
what it needs to be is for that goal to be cancelled out. And this is where I agree. I dislike that the goal was called off. It needs all of us to sit there and go, "Oh yeah, it's definitely a foul."
Mm,
Otherwise, we crack on and the goal's given. That's like how
yeah.
it should be. So I understand both sides. I understand the anger from Fulham fans, etc. I'm just saying they've microscopically looked at it. It's right. Judgment does Chalobah get impeded? Yeah. I don't think any of us have looked back on it and gone, "Oh, Chalobah dived," or like he
No, no,
legitimately
no.
landed on his foot. It was an
Yeah,
accident, but I
yeah.
can understand why they called the goal off.
Yeah. The context doesn't help as well with Josh King being a young teenager, scoring his first goal for the club
Yeah, it
away at
didn't. Yeah.
Chelsea. All of that kind of makes it a little bit more distasteful.
Yeah, there
Um,
was an emotional to it thing as well. Is that most people
mm,
would want the underdog to win in this sort of circumstance, and you got a young boy who's a real talent scoring his first Premier League goal. Like
yeah.
it just feels soulless, doesn't it? Taking that
Mm.
away. This incident happened on a halfway line. I get that it then kind of leads to a 1v1 moment, but it just feels like, yeah, like I said, if Muniz had just was in the box and he swiveled and scored straight away, I think we'd be more understanding to cancelling the goal out. So the penalty in the second half is kind of judgmental call. There's like four little incidents and they probably get them all right. I actually wouldn't be against that not being given the penalty because I think Sessegnon isn't meaning to make himself big. He's jumping towards the ball to block it, and therefore it's natural that the arm comes out. I can understand they've given it. I wouldn't have had a problem if they didn't. The
I didn't like the João Pedro handball in that, to be honest with you. I thought the way it bounced up and came off his
accidental,
hand, but it still changed the direction of the ball
and there's
in the
also
penalty area
is
that
also
has then led to the goal. So
if you want to
I
be
thought, you know what?
completely judgmental, and this one was a very, very small contact, but there was a contact on where Iwobi's foot got caught. It was nowhere near as bad as the Chalobah one. What I don't like is it's like a multitude of things that have built up in Fulham's fans' minds. The moaning about the conceding the goal in the ninth added minute, right? I'm really sorry. It's very simple.
That's
Yeah,
forget about it. Minimum,
it's
minimum
called
eight.
8 minutes minimum. And if a
Mm,
referee decides he wants to go to 9, 10, that's up to him. It's you've been told is a minimum 8 minutes time. That's it. So
yeah.
I think it's a little bit unfortunate, but there's no leg to stand on there. There's no rule broken or anything. And Fulham should be disappointed they've conceded a goal in that manner from a set play. João Pedro's 2 goals this season have obviously been from set pieces. He spins away quite nicely to take this one. He's got himself a good return again, full bonus on top of obviously the good return against West Ham. So I think he's the highest scoring attacking player in the game at the moment, João Pedro.
He's on 26 points, attacking players, midfielders and strikers.
I think so, yeah. I think he's the
You
highest.
are right. Yeah, he is. He is.
Yeah.
At 62.3% ownership. We did talk at the start of the season, is he worth it? Why is his ownership so high? Gary Mantle, our Chelsea correspondent, said he's actually underpriced. And based on what we've seen now, he is.
Yep, but consequence, let's also remember Edie's two-headed goals from set pieces. And it's probably not how you'd have expected his returns to come. And you're also probably a little bit disappointed he didn't take the penalty in Palmer's absence. So I guess we know Enzo Fernandez is second in line for that.
Don't forget 2 assists as well against West Ham. So
Yeah, I just mean that his two
easy.
goals have come from headers from set
Okay.
plays is a little bit
Yeah.
unusual. Um, you would expect his minutes to be fairly secure moving forward, though, although it's a transfer window and don't rule out what Chelsea might do because Liam Delap has quite clearly pulled his hamstring. Guys at FPL, another little whinge, right? We don't need to go yellow, orange flags for this kind of stuff. No one has ever done his hamstring like that and returned in 2 weeks. We can just put them straight on red, by the way. They've recalled Mark Go
Oh, they
from,
have.
yeah, that's, he's at time of recording, he's heading back to London.
I
They've
heard
recalled him.
they're obviously trying to sort out the Jackson stuff, but Jackson is like, no, like screw you
So,
lot, which is understandable.
So I don't know if that's going to still free Jackson up to go to Bayern Munich or not. These are complications of obviously recording when we're recording that we don't know. But either way, even if it was Jackson and Goo back, you would feel a lot more secure about João Pedro's minutes in the immediate term, I think, unless Chelsea bought another forward to compete against that. The line on Goo coming back is so interesting, Suj. So I'll give you a statistic, which is taken from Live FPL. Over 2% of FPL managers at the moment own Sanchez, Palmer, and João Pedro, and Go. So they've now got 4 Chelsea. There will be other combinations of that, right? Cucurella instead of Sanchez, an example, right? But a lot of people have rolled through keeping Cole Palmer, which is understandable. It was something I certainly deliberated. He could well be back for game week 4. Are in a position now where their next transfer has to be on a Chelsea player.
Yep.
Ouch. Now, the obvious one, you think, well, Go, that's useless to me. Well, unless you got the money in the bank, what are you moving that to?
Yeah.
This is a pain in the ass, this, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, look, there was
And
times when
you're not
people have
moving João
started
Pedro,
with,
so
look,
are you
there'll
in
be
a
people
position where you've still got to sell Palmer? It's mad.
there'll be people that try to game the system to like you started with 4 Spurs players once, people that will have bought Isak already in their teams thinking that with 3 other Liverpool and whatever else. This is slightly different to that situation where you're trying to get 4 players because you've been forced into having a 4th player, but it's just bad luck. I don't think there's anything we can do about it. It's just bad luck.
Let's remember when I started with those 4 Tottenham players, the intention was to do it for 1 week and wildcard straight away. So it almost felt like a free hit, right? This is quite unfortunate for those who've landed in that position, because I think unless you're secure that Palmer's going to play, you've now still got to sell him anyway. I think if you're going to be on a combination of 4 Chelsea. Just a couple of other notes on this: 23 DEFCONs for Casado. I told you, he won't have another one this as low as he did at West Ham again this season, probably. Back 3 for Fulham again. And they've got a couple of good fixtures coming up. Leeds and Brentford at home the next 2. I would suggest Rodrigo Muniz, as long as he's still a Fulham player after today, is going to offer a few solutions for people. And Josh King at 4.5 is clearly the best 4.5 in the game. I thought it was half a chance he'd come out the team, actually, after Smith Rowe's goal against United. But I think the intention is to keep playing him. They have agreed a deal with a player from Shakhtar Donetsk called Kevin. Yes, just Kevin, who's a winger for about £40 million. That's not official yet, but should be today, we think. If they're going to stick with a back 3, then King's place may be under threat. But I think the intention is for King to be first choice number 10 this season. So that's a great asset, 4.5. The thing is, as well, if you're wildcarding now, you're looking at King more than Go, aren't you? It's like fairly obvious. So
Yeah, for the budget option, even Muniz as well. My only thing with Muniz is I don't know. Like João Pedro's a lock in for me. I want to get Erling Haaland. There's so many other good strikers. Your Bowen, your Gokares, even Isak if he raises his hand. And whilst I don't have Salah, and I've got Reinders and Anderson, I don't need to go cheap with one of my 3 forwards to get to Muniz. And I don't know if many people will need to, but I think he'll offer great value at 5.5. If I was trying to get Salah back in the midfield and I needed to downgrade a forward, Muniz is where I would go.
yeah, that's a great 8 for 10.
Yeah, absolutely. Good. Let's talk about Manchester United 3, Burnley 2. They they don't half like to make lives difficult for themselves, Manchester United. Like I watched this game first half, I was like, actually, yeah, they've come out with intent. They know that obviously after what's happened with Grimsby, they've got to make a statement here. And they were playing well and creating chances. And I know people will look at it either way as whether Bruno Fernandes got lucky with a late penalty or not. I look at it as unlucky because I think he could have hauled mega in this.
There's a real split opinion on that, by the way,
yeah,
on Fernandes.
but I think he should have got more points in this game than he did. Therefore, I think he was unlucky. If you think he got too many points, then you think he was lucky. He had the shot from the edge of the box that didn't go too far. There was other penalties that could have been given. It was his corner that led to the strike that then deflected back for the own goal. So I look at it as he could have hauled even bigger as opposed to he didn't. And therefore I look at it as unlucky. But they just, as good as United were, they just make lives difficult for themselves. I don't understand why you're straight away from scoring, continuously conceding goals. It's making me towards getting Erling Haaland and putting the armband on him.
Yeah, I would be perfectly fine. I think Salah's a standout in 4, and then I think it's Haaland. I think it probably is back to those two for game week 4. United played well. I watched all of this back Saturday night as well, and United could have been 3 up at half time, and I don't think anybody could have particularly complained about that under that circumstance. Then they concede a sloppy goal where there's a naughty little crossover between the defenders, and there's a bad organisation. It's good cross. Lyle Foster finishes it well, and had some, I don't want to say panic moments after that, but like particularly at 2-2, it was like this could suddenly go either way. Like obviously the result at the time. I was watching it back, but if you didn't, you'd have been like Burnley might end up winning this, and carnage if they did. But in the first half, they played well. I think from fantasy, there's a few standout things to note here. One, I think actually probably on what I saw with my eyes, Bumo was the right shout in terms of United players to go for. They were looking for him quickly on transition so often, and he was really direct. That one beauty for him in this system is he ends up in central areas quicker. So I think there's times we'd have owned him obviously at Brentford last year, and you did think, okay, he's ended up holding the touchline quite a lot here. In this United team, particularly if Ahmad is behind him, he's ending up in more dangerous zones quicker. So I think those who've invested in him should be really pleased with that. He could have had more than what he got. Dorgu not playing any minutes was a real surprise. And I don't think Dorgu owners should panic about that. I don't know if there was a reference to what happened last midweek, therefore pick the most experienced kind of choices that you've got. Maybe obviously played Dallo at left wing back. Dallo's ended up assisting Mbumo's goal. So I don't think Dorgu would immediately come back in, but I don't suppose owners were going to probably play him at City anyway. So it's probably a wait and see on that one, because he looked quite dangerous, particularly on game week 1. He obviously hit the post against Arsenal. There's a few people will be disappointed that they bought a 5.0 Manchester United goalkeeper because we do think that Emi Martinez is going there today. That obviously fixes a big problem.
Has Unai Emery heard about that?
Marco Bizzo.
Marco Bizzo.
It's a great interview, wasn't it?
Bizzo.
I like the fact that by the time he said his name the third time, he said it differently to the first time. It was like, by the time he'd got to the end, he was adding the sound of the T back on. It had gone from Marco Bizzo to Marco Bizot at the end.
Yeah. But I mean, that's good. It'll be a good signing for Manchester United. It doesn't feel like it's a long-term deal, but I do wonder why
didn't just do it 2 months ago.
No, why don't they just get Donnarumma?
He's going to City. That's it. Here we go.
Oh, really? I didn't see that this morning.
Yes.
Is that new news? Is it?
It's here we go this morning. Yeah.
Right. Okay. I can understand the competition with City is difficult, especially if Ederson's allowed to leave. But if I was Manchester United, I'd just do the more long-term thing, which is get Donnarumma, which is a better signing. But yeah.
I'm not Martinez's biggest fan. Those regular to this podcast will know that. I'll tell you what, he is a lot better than what their options are at the moment. So that will help a little bit. So again, it's something for Dorgu owners who might be disappointed this week. It might even be that he's back in the team soon afterwards and they're a bit more stable defensively. That will no doubt definitely help. They were also helped out by two players who really disappointed them. I'll shout out one of our patrons. I can't remember which one it was. But finally, Jaden and Anthony have done something for Manchester United. Yes, Jaden Anthony with his shirt pull and Amad Diallo. It's correct decision. By the way, well played from Diallo. I don't want to encourage diving, but if he doesn't go down, he doesn't win the penalty because they'll go, oh, it's not enough to make him go down. He has, unfortunately, I speak about this a lot. It's the rules. The player has to go down because there's no reward for him if he doesn't. He would not be given a penalty if he stayed on his feet. So he has to go down, unfortunately, in that situation. Anthony, as I said last week, though, and obviously scored again. He's one to, I think, monitor. You're not going to go and buy that now, but when they've got good fixtures further down the line, I don't mind keeping an eye on him. And I thought Lyle Foster did pretty well up front. One other line on them that's possibly interesting, maybe more for those on Wildcard, is second week in a row. That's Ekdal over Estev on DEFCON returns. Similar setup at Tottenham. Obviously, they played Larsson rather than Oliver Son on the right, but same thing. Larsson was moving back into a right back position, out of possession. So very much funneling into a back five off the ball. They'll do the same against Liverpool. I'd be fairly certain of that.
Yeah,
Cunha,
I like Jaden
Cunha's going
Anthony.
to be a definite sell. What have you done with your mic, mate?
One second.
Would you like me to press
That's
pause, boss?
no. That's better, right?
Yes, it is.
It is. Jaden Anthony. The only problem is 5.5 million. I'm gonna go Caicedo, Elliot Anderson, even Jews. There's just too many players that
I
I'd
agree.
rather go for security. But that's not to say he's not a bad player. Um, and yeah, I agree with you. If the fixtures, if there was a good run of like 3 or 4 fixtures and had a problem to fix, I think he'd be a potentially good shout. But it's just that 5.5 million. There's a lot of options there. Even if you wanted to go back to a Reinders or something like that, I know he's a little bit more now, but yeah, it's a shame because it prices some of these players out. Like if he's a 4.5, for example, you'd be like, oh, really interested in that.
Yeah, oh, yeah. Definitely, if it was 4.5, it'd probably be a better option than King because he's shown his
King,
capability
yeah,
to obviously get the
exactly.
returns. Five, you'd be interested. 5.5, no, you're not paying for it. It
Nah,
might be one for the wildcard 13 crowd, particularly over a period where you want a little bit more stability and maybe less rotation risk going into December. Their fixtures aren't too bad from roundabouts that point. So, I mean, you'd wildcard 13, you go into Brentford Palace. Like, it's not brilliant, but it's okay.
yeah. Cool. Let's talk about Spurs nil, Bournemouth one. Unless you want to do Sunderland
Sunderland
first,
2,
James,
Brentford 1, yeah.
just because
Because Tottenham begins with T, and also, well,
there's
I'd
a
kind of
pennant.
rather get Tottenham out of the way, but yeah, let's do Sunderland.
Let's do Sunderland two, Brentford one. A good result, home win again for Sunderland after last week. I mean, when we did the differential show, your kind of line on this game was, should we forget the game week one fixtures for these? Because obviously Sunderland had a good win, Brentford had a bad loss in game week one, and they both obviously Sunderland had a loss in game week two. But I think for me, I was thinking because I only saw bits and pieces of this. Is this a stadium of light thing? Are we saying that Sunderland at home, because of the support they're going to get and the atmosphere they can create, are going to become a more difficult team to play against them and win there?
I think this could have gone either way, couldn't it, really? I mean, Sade's obviously had a penalty saved
Yeah,
by Robin Rose. They've taken the lead through Thiago. Um, if Rico Henry doesn't kind of grab back, I mean, you don't do that when you've won a penalty for pulling someone. And by the way, what is Reynaldo doing on Nathan Collins? That's so blatant. Brentford should have had one in the first half as well for similar. Like, if you've been given a penalty for holding, you can't do it back because there's inevitability that it's going to get evened up. And I'm not saying Anthony Taylor was wrong to give the Sunderland penalty, by the way. But so from if that doesn't happen, maybe they go on and win the game 1-0, Suj. So fine line. And I do think that their team is better with the attacking players. Utara also had a goal disallowed in the first half for a very marginal offside as well. So this could have easily gone the other way round. But great win for Sunderland. I think Keller would probably be a bit disappointed with Isidore's goal as well because he gets down to it. He does well to get down, but then probably having got down, probably should keep it out. The interesting change for the Sunderland lineup was obviously Enzo Lefebvre coming in for Simon Adingra. Lefay took the penalty, so unless he's going to stay in the team, we're still kind of none the wiser in terms of who might be the Sunderland penalty taker unless he plays. It's bad news for Dinger owners though, because Lefay played pretty well. So that might stick now, particularly with Sunderland's fixtures beginning to look a little bit tougher, like Palace away, Villa at home, Forest away, United away is the next four. So I think in terms of investment for Sunderland players, we'd highlight this in pre-season. It's probably got to be from the start. And actually, if you've gone now, there's every chance you've had decent returns out of it. Mukele come in at right-sided centre-back with Dan Ballard missing. All four centre-backs in this game hit DEFCON, so it shouldn't be too much of a surprise. So Alderete and Mukele, and he'll probably stay in the team, I should imagine, for at least the Palace game. He can also play right-back. They're being strongly linked with another right-back today as well, Sunderland. We're going to cover them a bit on Money in Football this week. And the two Brentford centre-backs. I'm going to say this every week about Vandenberg. He's going to be really good for DEFCON. Their fixtures are bollocks, though. So I think it's one.
But do you know what?
I want him in at 4.3 in game week 13.
When looking at DEFCON, because I've seen like certain times where you see players have got a high DEFCON and a low DEFCON, they're more likely to get DEFCONs in fixtures that are difficult because you're going to be doing more defending, right? So if DEFCON is your
a difficult
thing,
fixture for these two teams?
What, Chelsea at home?
No, Sunderland and Brentford playing each other. Like I'm saying, would we have expected all four centre backs to hit DEFCON in this fixture?
No, not necessarily. I suppose
I think it leans into more the difficulty of the fixture. I spoke about this, I think, on my stream last week. It leans more into rather than the quality of the opponent, how quickly do they want to put the ball in the penalty area quite a lot.
Okay. What I haven't looked at is how many of the DEFCONs are made up of clearances versus tackles, that kind of thing. For centre backs, you'd assume clearances because
primarily
heading away and what have you. Yeah, I'm not really looking at either of these teams at the moment. I don't need any players from Sunderland or Brentford from an FPL point of view. But yeah, keep our eyes on both. See what happens by the end of the transfer window, particularly Sunderland, because they've got so many players. You want a little bit of understanding of what first choice looks like.
The latest, by the way, time recording, Vissa to Newcastle, looking like there's talks ongoing today. Did you see Vissa's statement this week, over the weekend?
Yeah. Brentford standing in his way. And all
something else I want to talk about Money in Football this week.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Let's talk about Tottenham Hotspur 0, Bournemouth 1. I didn't watch this. I was watching Manchester United. I backed you guys to win because I thought Thomas Frank would be able to come up with a game plan to tackle Bournemouth. When I looked at the XG chart that sometimes above average or Jenny's where it shows the growth of the XG in the game, it looked like you were well beaten, James.
I can repeat that for you. It wasn't a look like off the stats. I think if you actually watched the game, it was probably even worse.
Yeah, it just looked consistently like they were just on top. It wasn't like you had a period, they had a period. They just looked like they were on top.
I'm going to use
so
a word.
Much of it.
I'm going to use a word I don't use often. Bournemouth were fabulous. They were absolutely brilliant. Could not have complained if they'd won 3 or 4-0. And I do think that was more about Bournemouth than Tottenham. Like Tottenham were bad, by the way, but I think Bournemouth were exceptional.
I remember you saying you were nervous for Senesi owners because of the potential shuffling around. I can't remember whether it was your deadline stream or Ask James.
I still am.
Yeah, I get like logic says that, and then you know what happens when you say that.
Most owners would have benched him this week anyway. So yeah,
that's also true. Yeah,
cute little pass for Evan Nilsson. By the way, I think Evan Nilsson owners are a little bit lucky to get that. There's one angle of it. The shot is going wide, I think technically, and therefore Romero owners are a bit lucky as well. I think that should have technically been a Romero own goal. Sorry to be bad ball fear or bad cop, but they ain't going to change it now. I'm pretty sure of that. Who should I cover first? Tottenham or Bournemouth?
Tottenham.
Okay, so where we sit on Tottenham might look very different by the end of this day. There's reports in Tottenham circles this morning that Solanke is going to be out for between 2 and 3 months.
Whoa.
Yeah. So Tottenham were already looking at trying to get one attacker in today. It may be 2. If it ends up at none, then some of these players that are currently playing for us might look decent options again, possibly. Obviously, Xavi Simons is signed. The intention, I think, is for him to be the number 10, but it might depend what Tottenham can get today. It might be that it becomes the left-sided player. Before people will hear that Solanke news and go, oh my God, Richarlison. Right. If you think Richarlison is going to be capable of playing 3 games a week for the next 2, 3 months, I wish you luck with that, because I don't think that would be the case. And Tottenham may end up with someone by the end of this day that they think is more likely to be the first choice number 9. I think that's a possibility. So just consider the external on that. Johnson's place is the most under threat. He did really well in the first 2 games. I think he was about 5 minutes away from getting booed from the crowd because his performance was that bad on Saturday. And I'm not surprised he was hooked even before the hour. The problem, however, is with Johnson, you know that if you get him in the positions, he will score goals. And that can make him an attractive proposition for fantasy. Whereas Kudos, I don't know how many times I have to say this, doesn't look like scoring ever. Another game again. He's not looked anywhere like scoring. So, I mean, I said this after game week 1. Kudos was, if you went there, take the points and bin. That's still the same now. Bin it. He doesn't
Do you know
look
his
like scoring.
XG so far this season?
It's got to be so low.
Kudos.
It's got to be less than
Bournemouth is
0.2 or so.
0.00.
Yeah.
Man City is 0.00. Burnley is 0.06, which gives us a combined total of 0.1, only because they got a round up. So yeah, less than it's less than zero point 0.1 xg for 3 games so far this season. If anyone's listening to you thinking, yeah, James is going on and on about Kudus not scoring, the stats back it up. That's all I'm saying.
He's not getting in positions. Like, I can't
His
even.
XA is not much
no,
better. It's 0.26. It's 0.28 combined XGI
you know,
for
there's
3
certain
games.
things where it's like, oh, a player could arrive in the box and it ends up going to the person behind him. He's not getting in the positions. He's not having the efforts. That right now is just not a fantasy asset. Now, it's not your biggest problem, but this is a little bit of a problem because you'll look at Tottenham's next few fixtures. So over the next
Can't sell him.
5, I've got Tottenham second on my ticker. Now, the good news with Kudus is Kudus won't be coming out the team. That he wasn't great on Saturday, but the longer it went on, the better he got. I actually think he had a difficult game because Truffer played him really well at left back. So if you've got him, you're probably going to stick, and I get that because if I was sitting there now, I'd probably end up sticking on him because I'd be like, well, the
Picture's too
fixtures are
good.
still good. So even if he rocks
Yeah,
me up
picture's too good.
a goal and 2 assists over the next 5 or so, you'll probably take it
Oh, you'd
at
bite your
his
hand off for
value.
that.
So I get that. Please don't go and buy him. Right, if you're on it, deal with what you've got in terms of your other issues. But that, yeah, I'm pleased you brought up the stats because it just doesn't look like scoring at all. Great player, just doesn't look like scoring. His minutes are secure. Whatever Tottenham do today, Kudus' minutes are largely secure. There is the added complication going forward in terms of the European games obviously starting up. In midfield, we were horrendous. So this has to go both ways. So Paulinho got a lot of praise for the performance at Manchester City. What's his greatest strength, Suj?
Tackling.
Yeah, it ain't passing. In games where Tottenham are going to be under extreme press, in games where they're expected to win, right, he shouldn't be in the team. It was a massive weak link in that game on Saturday. There were times where he's the deepest midfielder and Bentancur's having to really come back. It was no coincidence. It was 2 things. Bournemouth tired, but Tottenham were better when Paulinho went off as well. A completely non-existent in terms of attempts to try and receive back to goal and also pass through lines. Massive problem. So there'll be games coming forward where Paulinho will look great again and people will rave about it. But in a game like this, bad. Bad day at the office. But the primary reason for that was because Bournemouth were outstanding. They've got a terrific manager. They were terrific across the line. So Evan Nilsson, in terms of his running and his hold up and his link, outstanding. Semenyo was unplayable. If he hadn't signed that new contract, there'd be a lot of clubs. My club would be one of them bidding for him today, I think. So powerful. And he's got the technical quality to go for it. I think when they first got him from Bristol City, he was quite raw. He's the package now. With all due respect, he won't be playing for Bournemouth next year. There's every chance he'll be playing for someone in the Champions League, I think. Top player. To the extent that Porro obviously hit DEFCONs, we mentioned. but Frank pretty much had to put Spence out there from the physicality extent of it. Just too powerful, too good, too quick. Outstanding footballer. David Brooks on the right hand side was a joy. Absolutely brilliant. He's outside the foot cross. If you haven't seen it for Semenyo, brilliant. He's actually been linked with a move to Palace today. I have heard some rumours of that. If he keeps playing the way he's been playing, he'll stay in the Bournemouth team. It was outstanding.
Well, Palace got money to burn, right, after the Eze deal and what have you. So it wouldn't surprise that does sound
He's in last year a contract.
like
David
plausible.
Brooks. So there
And the
might
other
be
thing is
something in that.
obviously, I mean, the discussion around Bournemouth, because you look at you can rave about all their players. Like Clivert's not even getting into the team right now.
Yeah, and
You've got
Ryan Christie
Brooks
as well.
is 5 million. You've got Tavernier is 5.5 million. Obviously, Semenyo is a little bit more and probably worth the extra, but there's assets all around there that you can suddenly think, well, Tavernier, if he's going to play 10 at 5.5, that's a great asset to have.
Yeah,
but
it's too much threat.
The risk there is Clivert potentially coming back in. Pay the money for Semenyo because he's just good and he's going to keep doing things all season. I think he really is in that vein of form. Evan Nielsen's decent at his value, though strikers, there's a lot of choice at the moment. They're all options, right, at the moment.
Yeah. Tavernier was probably, I think, the weakest of Bournemouth's attacking players on the day, I would say. I've not criticised his performance particularly. But Alex Scott was great. The one that is enabling them to do so well at the moment, though, is Tyler Adams. He's a player you and I really like. We used to speak about him a lot when we used to do the Sky podcast. Brilliant. His understanding of his position, his commitment in the challenge, absolutely spot on. It's allowing them basically to play an aggressive 4-1-4-1 at the moment. Without him, I don't think they can do it in the same way. So
DEFCON 2 out of 3 games so far for Tyler Adams.
Yeah, he will do. Yeah.
Comfortably as well. He got 9 in the Wolves game at home, which was probably an easier game for Bournemouth, really. So maybe he didn't need to do as much. But when you're looking at the likes of Elliot Anderson, for example, keeps coming close. Adams has delivered in 2 out of the 3 from a DEFCON point of view.
Yeah. So if they can keep what they've got now, and they might not be able to because the intensity they play with, but I think going out the Carabao Cup was probably a good thing for them. They are very capable of qualifying for Europe this year if they keep their squad fit. We've just said about bringing Cliver into this, bringing Ryan Christie, who I've spoke a lot last year about his importance to Bournemouth, bringing them back into this. And nothing statistically sums up the effort Bournemouth put into that game the weekend more than Amin Adli, who came on. I think that was for his debut. He's nearly at DEFCON, so he came on in the 64th minute. He's a fucking winger.
Wow. Yeah.
He nearly at DEFCON. So they put so much into that at the weekend. He looked a good talent when he had it on the ball as well. Defensively, so solid. Richarlison got absolutely nothing out of Diakite and Senesi. My concern with Senesi, as I said, is they'll buy another centre-back today, and I don't know what the impact of that is. But on what I saw at the weekend, those two should be given the chance to continue their partnership. They also lost Adam Smith during the game. James Hill came on and was competent. He got right in and at it against Johnson. And Truffer, as I said, was really good. I can't tell you how well Petrovic played or didn't play because he had nothing to do. They were that dominant, so they were brilliant.
Good. Well, yeah, keep eyes on Bournemouth. Let's talk about Wolves 2, Everton 3. Wolves taking the mantle off West Ham as being crisis now because we managed to get some points on the board. I have no interest in any Wolves assets right now, just because I think they're in trouble. They've got a difficult run as well with Newcastle. Leeds at home, they got to get 3 points. And then Tottenham away and Brighton at home. That's 3 of the next 4. I can easily see them losing. Everton, on the other hand, I thought they might be in trouble this year. But now I look at their attacking threat with Grealish, Dewsbury Hall and Dye better. I feel like I need to have some Everton, you know. I don't know who. I don't know where I'm going to squeeze them into my squad. But I think they're going to do well. I kind of feel like I want a little bit of Everton. They've got a couple of tricky fixtures coming up, Villa, Liverpool, so I can park it for a little while. Even from West Ham point of view, when we were in crisis a week ago, I was thinking, right, we're going to lose to Forest, we're going to lose to Spurs. We've got to try and get something out of Everton. I don't think that's going to be an easy game at all now. I think they've done really good business in the transfer window. You've got players like Tyler Dibbling now, not even going to get into the team. You've got Dwight McNeil, not even going to get into the team. They're good attacking creative players because they got better. I think it's interesting though. Obviously, they made it difficult for themselves in the same way Manchester United did as well.
Yeah, I mean, Wolves could have had a penalty in the game as well. I think it's
Yeah,
fair to
this
shout.
is it. Right,
What I
Everton
would say
definitely.
about Everton assets, and it's just something to think about. I'm not saying don't go. I mean, Grealish has got nearly as many assists already for Everton than any Everton player got last season. I think it's two behind Dwight McNeil's total was six from last season, and it's also double. I think the amount of assists he got for City last season or so already. So he's four assists, two games. So it's great. Dewsbury Hall's got a cracking goal, also got an assist at the weekend, and Dyer scored in the last two. However, how much did you want to buy Rangers after Man City went to Wolves?
Uh, I did. I almost felt like I was forced into it more than wanted to. Want
You
is a
weren't because I
different.
wasn't forced into it. No one put a gun to your head,
No,
mate.
but it was like I was. My decision on buying him was as much value as it was like what you see with your eyes from a footballing point of view. I'm like, okay, his value is going to shoot up. I want to get rid of Verts before his value drops. Da, 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 da. It was what I mean by that. It wasn't just what I saw with my eyes from a footballing point of view. It was a lot more that goes into that decision specifically. I don't feel like I'm value restricted with the Everton guys. I can still afford them. Dewsbury Hall's just sitting there. I'm thinking, great. My question more around him is, do I want to play him in any fixtures coming up? Should I be considering that? And because the fact that he's already there, is that a blocker to getting another? Because I don't want two Everton attackers.
No, and he's perfectly reasonable as five. So I look at
Yeah.
that now. I don't look at that and think, ah, bench Jimmy return. I think great, his value will now hold. That's all that goes through my mind.
Like West Ham in six, would you play him? Is that the hilly do?
Um, it's not the plan at the moment.
So Villa, Liverpool, then West Ham's playable, then you've got Palace, City, Tottenham, and then it's not Sunderland until game week 10. So you may not even play him for the next 5, 6 weeks.
Ultimately, he's good running off the back of Grealish in terms of his assist. The goal is just a brilliant strike. Like it's a very low chance. I obviously watched Everton's first two games. There's nothing in that to make me think, other than when he's taking corners, to make me think, oh, Dewsbury Hall's going to be this, that, and the other. So I think it's a perfectly reasonable 5 million asset. He's eighth attacker. I don't particularly intend to piss about with that too much. I don't think. No, I'd probably not intending to start him anytime soon. To be honest, just very happy with that. It's great cover. Obviously, in hindsight, it's go back and say, if I kept hold of Palmer this week, then Dewsbury Hall would have played for me. I'd had more points. But I bought the player and end up with the most XG in the league at the weekend. So I feel fine with my decision. And again, I was not benching Verts or Gakpo. We can all be hindsighty about it. And it'd be the same for me. Can't see me ever going, despite what I've seen from Verts so far. I can't see me over the next few games. I'm going to pick Dewsbury Hall over Verts. Not doing it. Maybe that's stubborn, but I don't intend to do that. I'm more likely to sell Verts and then play someone else over Dewsbury Hall. But he's a decent pickup. Grealish will appeal. Um, we know what his capabilities are. I still think he's predominantly going to be more assistant and scorer. I think what Ndai's done in the two games is really encouraging because we thought he'd end up on the right if they signed Grealish. What's impressed me is not the fact that he scored the two goals, it's the fact that he's arrived in the box. I spoke about this last week. The trusting because someone like Grealish is on the left that I can make that run into the box because it now might come my way. He scored two very similar goals. Interesting celebration, by the way. I know there's a lot we'll talk about Packetars, but did you see Ndai's?
The Wolf.
Yeah, but then at the end as well, he kind of like blew his cheeks and give a thumb down. It was a bit childish. I like that. I love that.
He I think he's trying to take Jamie Vardy's mantle, right? Because he did
Could
the
be.
seagull against Brighton as well. So I think he's
Uh,
trying to be a wind-up merchant
Jamie
there.
Vardy shout out. By the way, we think he's joined Cremonese in Serie A.
Oh, fair play.
Another really big thing for Everton at the weekend, and Sean Norton spoke to us quite a bit about this on Correspondent Week, the idea of James Garner playing as a deeper line single pivot that allows Dewsbury Hall to push on and obviously allows you to get the best out of Garner Gay in terms of he's really good in terms of his all action energy, great ball winner. So they got back to that at the weekend because Mikalenko was back. So that now is the midfield that they want, I think. That's good. Everton are going to be much better to watch on the eye this year. with that midfield five, that's good. The two centre backs hit DEFCON again. That's always liable to happen, I think, when Everton are winning pretty much any game of football. And they look better calls at the moment. Keane is obviously subject to Branthwaite's longer term fitness. But Tarkovsky looks a better call at the moment than Murillo or Milenkovic if you're on Wildcard and comparing them, for example. For Wolves, Strand Larson obviously didn't play. We have to take it on face value that it is maybe injury related. Sounds like he probably asked, the word was he asked nicely if he could go, I think, rather than
Yeah.
being an arsehole about it. He's going to stay by the looks of it. So I know he's been
Well,
particularly popular.
Newcastle aren't going to be coming back for more after they've spent what 70 million euros on the lad from
Watermado.
Stuttgart. Mm.
Well, no, but they're both obviously big lads, so you could use them as a rotation. But the understand is Newcastle want a different profile of forward, ideally. But it does sound like they kept bidding for him, Suj. So it
Mm.
looks like he's probably going to stay. That would be. I know he's been quite popular in terms of the analytic crowd. He's safe as houses for his minutes. I'm sure if he stays, he'll be back in the team at Newcastle in Game Week 4, and you can just carry on with him. It's just obviously unfortunate he missed a good fixture at the weekend. The two Buenos are in the team. So we kind of forgotten about them. Now both backs. Santiago Bueno came in right-sided centre back, and Hugo Bueno played as the left wing back. Wolves are not right at the moment and in trouble. They started very badly last season. I feel like there are little things that are becoming concerns, like Andre not starting against Bournemouth. But then I also look at how Rangers and Dewsbury Hall have both run off them to score goals in the two home games and understand why there might be a bit of concern. When you play that system, if you've got runners that run off the side of the two central midfield players, it's a ball late for the two midfield players and they become dangerous players. So I'd look at people like Ramsey and Guimaraes. I'm not tipping them up to be bought for FPL, by the way, but I wouldn't be surprised, for example, if one of those two players scored against Wolves in Game Week 4, if Newcastle go back to a 4-3-3.
I mean that's a segue into Leeds nil, Newcastle nil. Um, Crap game. Not really
It's
a lot
atrocious.
happening. But the story
I
here
watched
is
this
like, what
after
happened?
Tottenham, mate. Like, it was a bad Saturday.
I was just like, I mean, the story here surely is like, what's Eddie Howe doing here? Because he switched to kind of three centre backs there, trying to use Livramento as left sided, Trippier right sided wing backs. But then you've got wingers in Barnes and Alanga that are good wingers, that one will hold the left side, one will hold the right side. But he's put Ramsey and Murphy into the team. I'm not sure what he saw in Leeds that made him want to do this, or was it just the case of making a point that he needs players? Or I really don't know why they set up like this, because I thought this game was there for Newcastle to take and win, and the lineup didn't make me feel like they felt as confident that they were going to go and do that.
No, it was strange. I think factoring a little bit what went into the effort against Liverpool, right? They were really
That was the only
unlucky.
thing. Monday night turnaround, tight turnaround. Were they
It's not.
tired? That
It's
was
not
the
a
only
tight.
thing I think about.
It's not a tight turnaround. It's 5 days, but there was an excessive effort there, and it could be that a couple of them have been flagged by the medical staff rather than the manager and gone, look, if you start them here, they're at risk. Now, considering what Newcastle went through the last time they got in the Champions League, they probably, I would imagine, as a football club, highlighted in the summer and gone, right, well, we've got to be way more cautious with our players. The switching of the system might have then come down to enforcement in terms of available personnel to start, right? So I know there's a little bit of a theory that Howe has wanted to get Sven Botman back in the team because he's a good player, but doesn't want to drop down Burn. So here was a solution to get them all in the team. Now, quite what that means next, I don't know, because I don't think Newcastle was suddenly a back three team. And then you do think, so why have you done it against Leeds? It might have been personnel enforced. I think there's also a fact with Leeds at the moment that they look like they could be a threat from set pieces. Even think about Strike's chance at Arsenal. And that extra kind of high element might have helped. That I said after Leeds played Everton in Game Week 1 that my big takeaway was Leeds are going to really struggle to score goals. So they might have eliminated that and thought, well, we'll have enough. It was an awful game in terms of chances created in the game. Newcastle did nowhere near enough. And I think it's a good result for Leeds, right?
Really good result. Really good result. And two
Uh,
clean sheets in the first three. Okay, they conceded five in the other game, but still, two clean sheets at home in the first three.
Couple of notes on them. Another 9 pointer for Goodmanson, but he did limp off, so keep an eye on that. But that's intriguing because we've obviously had so much focus on kind of the DEFCON elements of the 4.0s. He's got 9 pointers in successive home games. Like, that's great. So that needs monitoring. Longstaff did really well in midfield, obviously playing against his old club. Interesting that Nemecha played up front. I think that's a better fit than Perot. And then obviously after he went off, it was Calvert Lewin that came on. I like Calvert Lewin. That's all right when he came on, actually.
He looked
My
lively and fit. Quality of his finishing and some of his touches weren't
my
great, but he looked all right.
my concern for whoever plays up front for Leeds, which I've spoken about before, is that they may get too isolated. Now, I think the fact that Newcastle played a back three, you think, oh, he's outnumbered even more, actually played into the fact that Leeds could get into him quicker and better. So, yeah, good result for Leeds. I think they should be quite content with that. That it's two home games, 0 goals conceded. If I'd have offered a Leeds fan that before the season started, they'd have probably gone, yeah, that's a decent start. Thank you.
Yep, indeed. Good, good. Let's move to Sunday, James, because your Saturday was so bad. Maybe your Sunday was better.
Of course, it was Arsenal lost.
It was Arsenal lost, I was going to say.
By the way, can we?
I know you will.
Tottenham are fourth and Arsenal aren't first, so I'm quite happy to stop the clock if anyone's interested.
Right. Brighton 2, Manchester City 1. I mean, I didn't watch this because I was watching a game on the other side, James, but based on the stats, obviously they had a penalty in there, but they racked up three big chances, did Brighton to Man City's three. Same number of shots, 12 and 12. City had all the possession, obviously, 63%. But was it a smash and grab at the end, or do you think Brighton deserved to take the 3 points? Is there any concerns around Man City and the way they're lining up?
I think the manager won the game actually. I think this was Hertzler deserves a lot of credit for this. He went very early with four subs, all at the same time. And on the face of it, wasn't definitive that it was improving the team, right? You brought Milner on, and you thought legs wise might struggle against City's midfield, but him and Ayari give them good energy in midfield. And I like Baleba and Hinshelwood, the two players that came on.
Yeah.
And obviously Rutter came on, very kind of different profile player to Welbeck, and Gruder came on for Gomez. And they just suddenly seem to have an extra energy of life. You've essentially changed the spine of the team, bar your centre backs and your goalkeepers, obviously. And suddenly on transition, they began to look so threatening and quicker. They were going a bit more direct, started going like over the top of Kusanov and Ait Nori and stuff, and turning City. So I think manager won the game. I mean, the players on the pitch won the game, but I think the manager had a lot to do with that, and he deserves a lot of credit because at that point, when he made those four substitutes, I would have sat there and said to you, this is probably likely to finish 2-0 to City. It was pretty comfortable, I think, at that point. And then the game changed, and it was changing before the penalty, which that's a definite penalty, by the way, the Nunes handball. No need to check club badge on that one. The game was changing before that, though, where you could feel that it was building. And I've seen this so many times. It actually wasn't that dissimilar to the game at Brighton between the two teams last year, which Brighton ended up winning in similar fashion quite late on, where the game turned against City and they were just two under it. There's a brilliant clip on one moment where Minter's breaking through the City midfield fray. And again, they just look like they're climbing up a mountain going backwards. Rodri is not at 100% yet. This is the first time, by the way, Suj, that City have lost with Rodri starting a Premier League game in 50.
I saw that stat. I saw his stats from the game. They weren't great. Like, he didn't have the best of games.
He's not 100%. He's going to take a little bit of time.
Thing is, his standards are so high, right?
Of course. He's an incredible player. City need him. I said to you a couple of weeks ago, City ain't going to do sod all without him. But they might struggle to do sod all with him because where I think there's a confliction, but I spoke about this quite a bit last week after they lost to my team in terms of like the high line and stuff. Like, I think there's a confliction with they can't press properly, so they're going even higher and trying to really condense the pitch. But I think what you've also got is because they can't press high, it's easy. For someone like Dunk or Van Heck, who have like big passing ranges, they're not just, knock it short play. They can play a 50, 60 yard pass over the top, turn you. just cutting out the midfield. So you've got City's midfielders looking over it. And you don't reflect on the game, oh, Brian just pumped it long. Like it wasn't that at all. Okay. But in terms of the speed of getting it into the front man, you're just bypassing out the midfield. It's all wrong for City in terms of the press, the high line. There's a chance here, and I mean this, that City will lose to United. And they
Yeah,
will lose at Arsenal.
I mean, look, I'm selling
They
eight
will
more.
lose at Arsenal in game week 5.
I've got no kind of desire. Rangers can stay for now. He's cheap, right? It's 5.5 million. It's not like I've got
It's
a
not panicking.
Foden or a Marmoush or something where there's a little bit more money tied up potentially in that. Nothing puts me off going back to Erling Haaland because he's just capable at any game, any given time. He can return, so that's all good. But yeah, I don't have the most confidence defensively. Doesn't make me want to invest any more in Manchester City at the moment either.
88 goals in 100 appearances for Haaland. He had 6 touches in the first half, Suj. 5 of them
Yeah.
were shots.
Oh wow, that's what he does.
And he could have, yeah, he could have had a bit of a hole. That speed for his goal, those first couple of yards are extraordinary. That's his greatest asset of all.
Yeah,
He's obviously when he
acceleration.
bursts away, like his acceleration, but the speed over the first couple of yards is insane. When you first saw it, you thought, "Oh, it might be offside," and you see it back, and it's like it's 2 yards onside. Like, how's he
Yeah, yeah.
got through there? And so
I,
his
I
anticipation is great as well, obviously.
I remember the first game he played in the Premier League against us. He won a penalty, and he accelerated away from a
Yeah,
defender
very similar.
in the penalty box.
Yeah,
I was like, there's only 18 yards in a penalty
yeah, he's
box.
like
How
3 yards ahead within 3 yards.
have you skinned someone in 18 yards? It's unbelievable acceleration from Erling Haaland. But yeah, not all is not well at City at all. Is there anyone from Brighton that put their hand up as a fantasy asset that you might want to go and get? Look, Rutter, people might have benched him because he was imminently back and he's come on, so he possibly finds his way back into the starting 11.
I think he will. I think we should take from those 4 substitutions that I think particularly with the 2 attacking players, Gruder and Rutter, that there's a chance that they now come in the team. Obviously, O'Reilly wasn't involved. We thought a couple of weeks ago he was going to Juventus. Word this morning is he might be going to Marseille.
Okay,
So I don't know what's going on there. Obviously, Milner's taking the penalty, but again, a little bit like with the Lefay one, he's probably not first choice. So Rutter could even yet be on penalties,
Pence.
maybe by the time it next come around. I think he'll probably come back in the team. I wouldn't run to them, Suj, because I think the fixtures coming up are quite challenging. Like Bournemouth away next doesn't scream. Tottenham at home, then they go to Chelsea. It doesn't scream. I think Minter, in terms of the eye, needs monitoring. I think after the substitutions happened, he really took up the baton in terms of his aggression, both carrying and in terms of his off the ball running. I think it's quite pleasing to see because I think we know his ability when he's on it to see him kind of power past people and want to get on the end of things, hoping that someone will play him in, was quite encouraging. They also really narrowed the game as well. So Mitoma and Minter went a lot narrower with their runs after the substitutions as well. But no, I wouldn't be, there isn't anything there that I'd be running to. I mean, the winning goal is such a disaster from City's perspective. Well,
Yeah,
they end up 3v4. Now, that's okay if you're like losing your game and you're chasing and it's, how you've ended up in that position at 1-1. And it's all because essentially one Rico Lewis jumps. John Stones has to come across and then they don't funnel across from the left hand side. So they have to all react quicker. So once Lewis goes, Stones has to react. But then Diaz was on for Kusanov at that point. Him and Ait Nori don't react because as soon as Stones goes, they have got to come across. So that if you are left with the one that's alone, well, it's got to be Minter on the far side. Not in a situation where your 2 centre backs with 5 minutes to go at 1-1 are like 25 yards apart. It's astonishing how bad it is. Yeah. For Rangers owners, sit tight. It's fine. United at home's fine. If you want to invest in Haaland, it's fine. I think Marmoush needs close monitoring. I still think Oscar Bob needs monitoring. There is obviously a scenario here where Savinho stays and he gets back in the team in a few weeks or so. Donnarumma is at here we go. As I said this morning, he'll take over from Trafford.
yeah,
Edison's going by the looks of it. Cherky, by the way, just a line on him. There was some talk yesterday that he's out for a couple of months. And
right.
Foden missed out again with a minor issue, which is touchwood for him. It's not
Common.
going to be the same as it was last season. Hope not.
Let's talk about Nottingham Forest nil, West Ham United 3, James. We got some points and some goals.
Go on then. This is your one.
I mean, so obviously Forest unchanged for the third game in a row, which they just that's their best 11, right? Although they've now got Douglas Luiz and McAtee and a few other players that they might want to get into that starting 11. I think the story was West Ham changed formation and changed personnel. And I think Graham Potter's got to take some credit here because he made some brave decisions in terms of switching back to a 4-2-3-1 that allowed Jared Bowen to move back to a right-sided winger with Paqueta in the middle and Mateus Fernandes playing on the left. He dropped Aaron Wan-Bissaka and played Kyle Walker-Peters, which even in a back four, I'm surprised that he did that. So you look at it and you think, all right, that allows us to maybe get Paqueta a bit more further forward. It allows Bowen to play in a position that he's better in off the right. I think everybody agrees you'd rather have Jared Bowen off the right than playing as a striker. But it didn't change the fact that you still got James Ward-Prowse and Thomas Soucek as your two central midfielders, maybe getting a little bit more help from Fernandes and Paqueta against Sangare and Elliot Anderson, who are definitely stronger with Gibbs White coming in as well. I don't think this was 3-0 isn't a fair reflection on the scoreline, James, of the entire game. But it's definitely a fair reflection on the final 10, 15 minutes, because that could have been 5-0 or 6-0. But the game up until then, the first half was very cagey. It wasn't the most exciting game. It was like, okay, well, West Ham have come in to make sure we don't concede first and try and hit them on the counter. And Forest couldn't break West Ham down. The second half, when the second half started, 5 minutes in, I was like, this is very different because everybody in the Forest team was playing like 5 or 10 yards further up the pitch, and West Ham were much more penned into our half. But
right strategy.
That doesn't last long. Like you try and do that, and after a while, you're like, okay, we're not getting much joy here. And in the end, the Forest just didn't create enough. Like Gibbs White didn't have the best of games. Kyle Walker-Peters played Hudson-Odoi really well. Dan and Doy was just not that effective. Mavropanos and Kilman, Mavropanos particularly played Wood quite well. They couldn't create anything in the end. Forest, they'll be very disappointed from an attacking point of view. I think they handled the defense quite well until Somerville came on. Like, and where's this guy come from? Because I didn't even know that he was fit to play, James. Same. All of a sudden, it's like, what? Somerville's coming on the pitch?
And actually, what was striking about it wasn't like, oh, Somerville's back. Because literally the first I knew of it, because I never looked at your subs bench or anything. I'd seen the lineup.
No.
It was like, oh, who's assisted the guy? Somerville. It was like a double take. It was like, what? Because I was obviously watching the other game. But what was striking about it wasn't just that he'd suddenly reappeared after this hamstring problem for 9 months. But he looked bloody lively as well, didn't
Rapid.
he? Yeah.
Rapid. So, Callum Wilson coming on for Fulkrug, I can understand. Andy Irving coming on for Ward-Prowse, I was surprised by, because he's linked with a £4 million move away today and he's likely to leave. But when Somerville came on, I was like, oh, okay, where's that come from? He was rapid. He was lightning, James, when he came on, and I was well impressed. That suddenly caused them all sorts of problems. Wilson was much more mobile than Fulkrug, and he looks fit. I mean, he's one injury away from not, but he does look quite fit and strong right now. And suddenly in that last 10, 15 minutes, we were very, very threatening. And suddenly you're 3 goals up. I don't think on the balance of the first 80, it was too uneven a game, but on the balance of the last 10, 15, we were much the better. And the mood completely changed within the team. You see Paqueta's goal celebration. He clearly wants to stay and doesn't want to move.
I mean, hellfire if he leaves now today, right after that celebration.
Well, if he leaves now, we know it's the club have said you're going and we want to take the money. And that's that fire will be absolutely aimed at Sullivan. They might turn around and say, 45, 50 million from Aston Villa. Thank you. We'll take the money, please. At which point you're selling a player that doesn't want to leave. He has never down tools, even when he was linked away with City and what have you. He's never really been the type of player to hide away, which is why I never believed the rumours that he didn't want to start. With Aged, I could believe it because he's a little bit more of a wet fish. But Paqueta, I thought would turn up, and he did turn up. Look, he clearly wants to stay. If he's in that mood that he wants to be, he can be a very effective asset. And now suddenly West Ham look a very different outfit and a different proposition. If we end up going 4-2-3-1 again, I think you will find that Magassa, the new signing, comes in to play alongside Fernandez instead of Ward-Prowse and Souček. Then you've got a three of Somerville, Paqueta, Bowen, and then pick from Fulkrug and
So
Wilson up top.
Just
Much
clarify,
more threatening.
You mentioned Fernando. You think he'll end up deeper?
Yeah, I think he was played a further attacking on the left as a way of just integrating him in as a safer position,
Yeah, could
right?
be.
Whereas if he's one of the two, you're more critical. He's literally arrived on Friday. He's had no training with the team, but he's that good that you want to play him. So let's play him somewhere where it's a little bit safer, which is on the left. But I think he'll come in as one of the two alongside Magassa because you've got to play Somerville, surely. Like that attacking threat is what we need. So how do you get all of them into the team? That's the only way is play him as one of the two. Yeah, very different threat from West Ham. Wait and see. It's still a wait and see. You can't get too excited over one win, but all of a sudden goals in the game and a clean sheet. Diouf again an assist, and he's hauled here. Clearly the better choice than Wan-Bissaka for anyone that wanted to go there. But I don't think anyone's going now.
His deep crossing. We saw a very similar goal that
Yeah.
you scored on tour, didn't you? We crossed from really deep.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's some delivery he's got on him, actually. I'd
Yeah.
be a little bit cautious of him as a left back moving forward. It might even help that having someone like Fernandez in front of him who's not like a natural winger, obviously wants to come inside. I got a few points to make on your team. I mean, it's positive. So just want to ask first, there'd be a lot of Wan-Bissaka owners out there. That seems strange.
I was shocked. Everybody was
the
surprised.
standout on the lineup. It wasn't because we spoke about it last week, right? He went back for a second half against Chelsea. Could he do that? But not seeing Wan-Bissaka in the team was a massive surprise.
Yeah, for me as well. But also, Walker Peters had a good game and didn't do anything that would justify him being dropped.
He is more of a Potter player than Wan-Bissaka. You know, I've been saying this with Wilson and Fulkrug lately. It's the same.
Might well be.
Walker Peters is a tidy footballer. Like he has other weaknesses. Like he's nowhere near as strong 1v1 or physicality wise as Wan-Bissaka. But he has different traits that's more suitable to Potter ball. That said, the way you set up made me think even more about Wan-Bissaka probably would have been suitable for this. But I didn't watch the game. I think Potter deserves mass credit for this.
Yeah, and he's been getting it from the fans as well, which is nice to see. Like all the fan channels and what have you.
Do you know what?
Like give him credit for making the changes.
Exactly that. And it was nice to see him. I don't think he's not the sort of bloke you can really kind of like hate or be angry. You might think, oh, he's not the right guy, but it was nice to see him look happy last night. He deserves credit for the system and also did a few things that I'd called off. One was an obvious get Kilman to the left-sided centre back. All right. It will just help your progression. Right, when he's stepping out, you're stepping out on the left-hand side. Everyone feels more comfortable. He can play up the line, he can play inside. Similarly, like he's not doing it from the right, he's doing it from the left. So, because you'd stayed with him as right-sided centre-back in the second half against Chelsea, it's got to go left if you go back four. If he's going to be middle of the three, fine. But I even thought, because Aguerd played left-sided centre-back, he's also going to Marseille, we think.
Yeah, as is Emerson.
It's a Deserby band of misfits. It's another podcast.
It's very random, isn't it?
Don't get me started on Marseille. But yeah, it wasn't comfortable your left side. So just Kilman doing that's fine. I think the concern with him as the left side is like if teams go into that channel and he gets isolated 1v1, he's not the quickest. Okay, that's a bit of a concern because he might get dragged out. But actually, you Forest, right? This is the trick here with Forest. We learnt this at the end of last season. It means that you can watch Forest games and from a neutral, it might not be great. And it sounds like the first half of this wasn't.
No, it wasn't. But it was chess match more than anything else.
Yeah, exactly.
And from our point of view, I'm like, just the fact that we haven't conceded a goal is a victory here, and we've kept our shape nice and tidy in the new formation. But it was a chess match. The first half, it was flat.
Forest speed of transition really good. When it's happening back to them, not so good. And I think like adding Somerville to the end of that game, which also is worth saying from Forest perspective, probably would have been a shock because like you wouldn't have prepared for that at all, for him to come on
Yeah,
and start running at you, because you go, what's the one thing we're saying about you? He's like, you're so bloody slow.
slow,
Right.
slow.
So having something like Somerville in there is like a real injection. Now suddenly we've gone from, right, Bowen's kind of playing off Fulkrug, Packard's trying to link. We're relying on Diouf and Wan-Bissaka to get forward for a bit of pace. Now we're going, as you said, 4-2-3-1 now maybe. Bowen and Somerville either side. Wilson, sorry, Fulkrug owners. I think will probably he'll probably start against Tottenham now. It looks good when he come on. His movement
I
for his
agree.
goal is, have you seen it back?
Yeah,
He makes like six or seven little runs. It's so good.
yeah. That's what I've liked. He seems fit and strong, but I hate saying that about a player like Wilson because he's just one hammy away from being out for another 4 or 5 weeks. But yeah, I mean, look, I don't know if like Fulkrug owners should probably move it on if that's their only fire that they've got to put out. I wouldn't recommend though going Fulkrug to Wilson. I think you try and maybe go to Muniz or something like that. But I do think Wilson will start the next game. So yeah, I don't think Fulkrug owners should keep him. I don't see Wan-Bissaka coming back into the team necessarily because Walker Peters didn't do anything to deserve being dropped. So again, if you're planning on playing him, that might be a fire that you need to put out as well.
Listen, I haven't changed my mind that much. No, I wasn't, in all seriousness. Possibly game week 8 might have been interesting for me. I'll give you some context. Wan-Bissaka might go for me, but if he goes for me, he's probably going to be to something like Gabriel or Cucurella rather than
Down
another
or
4.5.
flat. Yeah.
I can't go Gay, but I think that would, if the deal goes through, we'll talk about that in a sec,
Oof.
might be an interesting one. Yeah, good. I'm pleased for you, actually. And there is a scenario here where we look at the team lineup against Tottenham in game week 4 and go, yeah, this team's going to be all right. You've been heavily linked with centre backs today, as this morning as well. Axel Disasai's name's coming up. He's going somewhere in the Premier League today, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
he ain't
mean,
playing for Chelsea. That I do know.
yeah, look, it's fine. We need some bodies in there and some reinforcement, but because the depth below isn't great if any of these players get injured. But nice to know that we can keep a clean sheet. We can play in a different formation. And Fernandez had a good game. He's a good football player. He's a lot bigger than I thought he was, to be honest with you, Mateusz Fernandez. I thought he was quite a slight, like, dinky jinky kind of player, but he's got a lot of physicality about him. He's a good player. And him and Paqueta had some really nice link up. On Forest, I wouldn't panic. Right,
No,
it's
not
a
at all.
bad day. It's a bad day at the office, but Anderson's still a solid asset. Like you're talking about a guy at 5.5 that's taking all of their set pieces and corners. He's on DEFCONs at any given moment. Wood, he's mobile. He had a couple of chances he should have scored. He had one header which he was a little bit tame and what have you. So, and defensively, yeah, they were doing fine until the last 10 minutes, and suddenly they kind of all fell apart for them. I still think you don't panic as a Forest owner.
Yeah, look, ultimately it's Arsenal next, so that looks ugly, but then it's Burnley, Sunderland afterwards. So I think in most scenarios, as long as you've got a starter, they're a hold. Judge around about the point of game week 6. I have said previously that I think there might be a bit of rotation for Forest in that 6th fixture. I think afterwards then it's Newcastle, Chelsea. You're probably looking at sell, subject to where you're at. On the DEFCONs, because they're not getting them at the moment, I think just factor in a little bit the 3 teams that they've played. Did a lot more of the ball against Brentford.
Yep.
Palace are obviously well set up to counter attack. You set up to do the same. Just factor that in. So, like, for example, I'm not suggesting people play Murillo or Milenkovic against Arsenal, but I would probably maybe expect them to hit it in that sort of fixture, subject to game state, etc. Like if Arsenal get in front quite early, probably not. And they may not do in the games in 5 and 6 as well, subject to the game state. So, but there have been fixtures gone so far where I think if you think of the amount of balls, say Leeds put in against Everton in game week 1, Brighton are going to have quite a bit of a ball at Everton. I'm comparing to like Tarkovsky here primarily. And then even Wolves' 2 goals against Everton actually at the weekend both came from crosses. So I think the stylistic matchups have played against Forest centre backs so far. That might keep happening. Again, me and Mark spoke in pre-season about the evolution of style, and the biggest consciousness in terms of where you should be at in terms of if you own Forest assets at the moment is you might have a different manager in charge for the next game. because
That's the
it
other
just doesn't feel right.
thing. Yeah. Let's talk about Liverpool 1, Arsenal nil. I watched the first half of this, thought Arsenal looked the better team here. If they can just up the intensity a little bit, they'll go on and win this game. Then went to go make dinner for the family, thinking, yeah, Arsenal will win this quite comfortably. Came back to see 1-0 and actually thought, oh, I bet it's Gabriel that scored because I benched him and saw it was 1-0 Liverpool and was quite surprised by that. So did they come back in the second half and make it more competitive and play well? I didn't think Arsenal threatened much, but I did think they were the better team in the first half. But yeah.
For Arsenal, great. Again, probably unpopular opinion. I think I've spoken about this a few times with Arsenal, particularly. I think they're really getting defined by a narrative. Ultimately, they lost this game because Dominic Szoboszlai has scored probably the best free kick we'll see in the league this season. And I think otherwise you go, hang on a minute, they've drawn 0-0 at Liverpool and kept Liverpool to under 0.5 XG. Hang on, that's extraordinary. Who does that? I think Liverpool scored in every Premier League game under Slot. Liverpool never looked like scoring in the game. I thought it was
Yep.
a brilliant performance from Arsenal. So because they've lost, we have the narrative of, they should have done more. Liverpool were there for the taking. I don't think Liverpool were there for the taking. Liverpool weren't wide open like they were against Bournemouth and Newcastle. I mean, highlighted by the fact Kanate played really well, I thought, whereas he hadn't in the first two games. They were set up better defensively in midfield, Liverpool, with obviously McAllister sitting a little bit deeper. So like Madueke had Kirkes like really worried early in the half. Kirkes got better and better the longer the game went on. But I think to put up that defensive display at Liverpool, I don't know. I just think like if Arsenal scored, like say Madueke shot in the first half, if that goes in and they win 1-0, you're all praising the hell out of them. So I get it. And this is something Arsenal fans will have to deal with. Because you're at the top table and your only target now is winning the league, every defeat, kind of as we've done with City a lot over the last couple of years, we have to put a kind of microscopic lens on it. I just think ultimately a fair result from that game yesterday probably was 0-0 because I don't actually think Arsenal did enough to win it. I agree with that. But lost the game because of an absolute weldy. I don't think they really could have done anything about. So it's like all the talk afterwards about Arsenal this, Arsenal that. Just lost very narrowly the toughest away game of the season. Did you not feel the same?
Yeah, no, completely. I did see a tweet that somebody put out, and forgive me, I have no idea who it was. It was someone to Gary Neville said something like, "If Arsenal want to win the league, they've got to be trying to
Yeah,
get a
but
result."
unfortunately, all of them on Sky, for whatever reason, have decided well, actually, it's probably come from instruction. They have to go for big narratives now. They can't have sitting there with like Roy Keane and just do like tactical analysis for an hour afterwards, right? They have to go on a tangent in terms of what can we make the headline out of this? What's now going to get the
Yeah,
social clicks out of it? They've gone too far that way, in my opinion. They shouldn't
yeah.
as the primary
Because
broadcaster.
statistically, I think there was someone who said like the winners of the league have only won away at the previous winners of the league like 5 times out of 20 or something like that, or won away at the second place team in the same season like 3 or 4 times. So it's not like a case of you have to go win away at the second best team in the league or best team in the league, whichever way you want to call it, to be able to win the league. Yeah, I don't think it's a big deal for Arsenal at all. They're going to lose some games. If the one that they lose is away to Liverpool, then it's not going to define whether or not they're going to be in the hunt for the title. I think they're showing much more control in games. I just think, yeah, that they're going to be fine. They're going to be good. Just wait until game week 7 really before we steam into their assets, though. Really, because that's the fixture swing.
Yes, I think a lot of us have got eyes on that. I'm not going to go chasing Arsenal assets now. That said, it's not beyond reason that I end up going sort of like Wan-Bissaka to Gabriel this week. Obviously, they also went through the impact of losing Saliba. It sounds like in the warm up. The
Yep.
first time he kicked the ball out of play in the first minute, I was like, oh, he's in trouble. You could see it straight away. So he'd obviously said that he thought he could try and get through it in the warm up and understand why they made that choice in such a big game. Mascara did pretty well, actually. And if it's bad for Saliba, then Mascara at 5.4 is quite interesting. He's been bought to be the right-sided centre-back cover. So I'm pretty confident he's play. But yeah, I could still end up with a Gabriel or a Mascara I think, by the time I get to game week 4. Nothing else I'd be looking at. I saw a lot of people buying Gyökeres this week. I just didn't really understand that on the fixtures
Yeah, not before
personally.
Liverpool
But if
away.
you've
Not
if you've
before Liverpool
committed to
away.
it, you're sticking with it now, surely. Like Forest at home's still decent next, so surely you're committing to it. Anything else Arsenal, like offensively, I'd be coming back and having a look in game week 7. Liverpool. So you could, particularly if you're on wildcard, go and get Gay, and it sounds like it's 50-50, or Isak, who is going to be a Liverpool player by the end of this day. That's now 99%. So you could end up 5 Liverpool away to Burnley, except you won't have 5 Liverpool away to Burnley. You might have 4 if Konate's injured, because he went off with an issue towards the end. So there is a circumstance here where Gay could potentially go straight in the Liverpool team if he goes there. Isak won't start at Burnley. I'd be very surprised. Be
It's
very
2 weeks.
surprised.
No, it's 2 weeks, James.
What's his?
It's
I,
two
I
weeks to
realise he's
integrate
going to
him.
get some minutes for Sweden, which is a really good thing for Liverpool, by the way. But what justification would there be to throw him straight in for a fixture like that? Surely, in any case, it's right. Okay, it's 20 minutes against or half hour against Burnley, and then there's a Champions League game the midweek afterwards and integrate him. What message is it to Ekateke if it's Ekateke that comes out? This straight in for him, unless Ekateke was then going to play the Champions League game. But then that's not how it's going to be.
I'm less convinced with that, James. I think if you've made that headline signing, it'll be what the most expensive signing in Premier League history. He's your main man. He's going to have had a bit of time to train with the team. I don't think a player like that needs like tactical integration. You just get him out there and he'll be able to show what he can do. Yeah, I'm not convinced. I think he'll play against Burnley. I think he'll play. Not enough that I would want to go and make the decision to go and buy him, but I do think he will potentially play against Burnley.
Yeah, I don't think Isak is worth a look till probably about game week 8. Now,
Yeah,
If Konate's injured, then Gay is absolutely worth a look if that deal goes through.
segue to the last game that we've got to cover off, James, which is Aston Villa 0, Crystal Palace 3. I didn't see this coming off. Villa, everyone's got itchy feet on Ollie Watkins and itchy trigger finger on getting rid of him or Morgan Rogers. Everton away, I look at the fixtures, Everton away is going to be hard, man. Everton defensively are stubborn, and it's at their new stadium. So I'm debating like Watkins to Haaland doesn't feel right when Watkins has got Everton away. But then I made captain Haaland in that fixture, and I think Everton's going to be difficult. So maybe it is the right decision. Not sure on how I feel about Ollie Watkins, if I'm honest with you. Palace obviously have done really well, and Gahey will be happy to say goodbye to them with such a good goal.
Ollie Watkins is going absolutely nowhere for me unless he's injured. Don't care. I had this conversation about like Bowen last week, but even more so with Watkins because I might need him for captaincy in 5. I might be captaining him in 7. Nah. We spoke about this even with Bruno Fernandes in pre-season. It's like, oh, first 5's not great. But if he goes off for me in game week 3, it's almost job done. I don't really care about the rest. So Watkins with Sunderland and Burnley coming up, he's not going anywhere for me unless he's injured. I don't care. I've trod this exact path with Watkins before. And although they were shite last night, he still very nearly scored just before half time with a really nice ball from John McGinn over the top. Really unusual you actually get in behind Palace in that way. And Watkins had to hit it on the stretch in the end. Any other place bar Henderson's face, he scored. And
it was going in, yeah.
And we're having a different conversation. Now, I get it. By the way, otherwise, didn't look great. Thought it was as bad as I've seen Morgan Rogers play, for example. I think Kamara was particularly a big miss. Obviously, missing Onana as well. It's not good. But Kamara's the bigger miss. And he might even be back for game week 4. Emery seems quite hopeful on Friday that he had a chance of making this one. We've spoken about his importance to Villa in the past, and I think really struggled, particularly on transition. I wouldn't be chasing Villa. What I would say about Watkins, I wouldn't be buying him at the moment. I wouldn't be buying Morgan Rogers either. Not this week. Might be a conversation for game week 5. I wouldn't be buying any Villa. There's also the factor in that they've possibly lost their goalkeeper. Could be a busy day for them. We might feel more positive. We might feel even worse about them. It feels by the end of today. So I wouldn't be buying them, but I wouldn't be running away either. Similarly, I wouldn't be thinking, sell Rodgers. Everton away is still all right. It's fine.
Yep.
And also, there'll be a narrative going into this now. And we've seen a lot of games show this at the weekend where, because of what Everton have done in the last couple, Everton fans, because of their start and Villa's start, Everton fans will be going into that game being really confident now. And they may well beat Aston Villa. But I've seen a number of games recently where away teams have set up properly. Bournemouth at Tottenham, Tottenham at City. There's plenty of others, yourselves at Forest at the weekend, where away teams have set up really, really well and done a number. And this was another one. Palace were exceptional. They are so well coached. I spoke about this a lot after the Chelsea game. They are so well coached. That I can't believe that he'll still be their manager next year. Someone's going to take it. They are absolutely blessed to have Oliver Glasner. They've gone 14 games unbeaten in all comps. I realise that includes 2 games against that Norwegian side. But Crystal Palace, 14 games unbeaten. Includes FA Cup final, right? That's brilliant for them. And they thoroughly deserved this. And remember, they've just lost their best player.
And they might lose another one. And last season they lost another one in Elise, and they keep churning out a way and finding a way to get results and keep developing.
So it sounds like Glasner specifically might be the hold up here on the Gay deal at the time of recording. He's obviously desperate for him not to go. That's very understandable because he's a top player. I don't know, what's the value to? I've said that kind of in the market now, Palace need to sell. But then I was thinking about this actually watching the game last night. It's like, oh, Palace could have got 65 million for him last year. Yeah, but Palace probably wouldn't have won the FA Cup without him.
No.
They might have, but there's a good chance that they wouldn't have. So what's the value? If Palace keep him and they win the Conference League this year?
Well, this is it. It's like, do you take the 35? But also, the other thing is as well, what do you get in replacement? Like, do they have enough time now to go into the market and get a replacement? Maybe, maybe not. Maybe this is how I'll end up there. They've got a good relationship with Chelsea.
Yeah, it's not ideal. They have actually, we think, made an inquiry. I don't know how well this would go down. Made an inquiry for Igor Julio from Brighton,
right?
Who's left footer. So, yeah, as we've been saying for a couple of weeks, this is going to be a mad day, I think, in terms of speculation and noise. There's a few Palace things I wanted to highlight. So back three, exceptional. Like they've all nearly returned DEFCON in terms of like the back five and stuff. Lacroix's got an assist. Gay scored an absolutely brilliant goal. All of them are decent assets, and there's a good time to approach them. So I think like, if you're now on Wildcard or you're on Free Hit, you are strongly looking at Palace for game week 4. I wouldn't be hugely put off if Gay goes. I think Lacroix is going to be an absolute beast for DEFCONs. They were right to price him higher than Gay. And they're also absolutely right, I think, to give Munoz the hike on top of that as well because of the ceiling of what he could be. Both of them are reasonable. I don't even think actually that it's beyond consideration to go with, if you're in wildcard now, to even consider going both Munoz and Lacroix. And subject to what happens today, Chris Richards is probably going to be a really safe pick as well. So you can look at all of them. Sarr, touchwood, he's not injured. He's going to be really popular going into 4. So too is Mateta. I thought Daichi Kamada was brilliant. That's the best I've seen of him. His link and understanding of picking up space at the right times was really good. He obviously won the penalty really well. That's the best I saw of him. And I think that was really important with Eze just gone. That Palace had someone at the top end who was able to put their foot on the ball and kind of link, right? Mateta and Sarr are very different players to what Eze is, for example, right? So I thought Kamada played really, really well. Yeremy Pino, who come on, looks like a player as well. So I don't have too much concerns from that perspective for them. The midfield 2 are really interesting. And Wharton may have got injured. Hopefully that's not serious because he's a super talent. I look at the way my team played in midfield in terms of their struggle to punch balls into the front players and watch Adam Wharton do it, almost feeling like he's doing it at half pace. It's like, you're such a top player. Lerma obviously came into the team as a very different profile player, and they have used him as cover for Gay in the past, by the way, so that might even be an option for him. But I watched them closely the midfield too, because one of the things I really wanted to look at was how they are in terms of like their rest defense and stuff. And it occurred to me during the game that it's something that I'd always known but never really said out loud. one of the reasons they don't get hurt is their midfield two don't go forward. What I mean by that is they support really nicely, but you never see like Hughes or Wharton or anyone else who plays in that position like ending up in the box nearly scoring or
Yeah.
anything like that. They let the front three guys go, come narrow. The wing backs are allowed to push on, so they're constantly resting. Even with Gay's goal, look at the two central midfield players. Oh, how does Gay end up there? The two central midfielders have got them on protection all the time. They are so well set up. Will Hughes
I've
played
got
really well as well.
I've just pulled up the heat maps for Will Hughes and Adam Wharton, and they are not in the opposition box at all. There's like a slight bit of shading for Will Hughes, but they don't go in the opposition box at all. Yeah,
No,
not a
no. So
single touch in the opposition
those
box.
guys could be 4.5 and you okay, minutes, but it just wouldn't really be asked. They'll chip in with a couple of assists a season and stuff, but they don't. They never get over the top about it. So it's a defensive structure, but it really works. They put whoever plays in that midfield too gives Palace such a solid base. Because I think we don't look at Hughes and Wharton as like destroyers, right? They're footballers, but it's the
Yep.
positional play of them that's so important that stops them getting hurt. We've now seen Chelsea really struggle to create chance against them. Villa really struggled to create chance against them. So it's not just Palace have gone 14 unbeaten. They've now just kept a clean sheet at Villa Park, Villa's first home defeat for 12 months, kept a clean sheet
Whoa.
at Stamford Bridge, kept a clean sheet against Villa in the Cup semi, kept a clean sheet against City in the Cup final. Like, genuinely, I think there is a consciousness here to say that you could go double Palace defence. I think the fixtures are okay.
Keeper as well. Dean Henderson's
Yeah,
is a good one of the two double defensive. You could go
the-
Munoz and Dean Henderson would be a great way to spend
they'll
ten
tick
and a
up.
half
I
million.
think the beauty with them as well is, which I hope that these recent games, even including those at the back end of last season, will show people since the kind of the weird week at City and Newcastle, they conceded five in both. Is with Munoz and Lacroix, you should play them in most games. So that when they play Liverpool at home in six, it's not a shit yourself, it's play them. Even if you still have Salah in your team, play them because they're capable of it in DEFCON. Munoz is a really good ball winner, right? As well. So he can pick up DEFCONs that way as well. So yeah, the downside, if he was on wildcard, the downside to going like Munoz and Lacroix now would be you can't have two from Saar, Mateta, Pino. I don't think Kamada would be an asset. Pino might become one, and just a little bit of consciousness of that. But I would be surprised if anybody wildcarded this week and didn't have a Palace defensive asset
Yeah,
or
agree
a
with you
free
on that.
hit as well. I think free hit is arguably two.
Yep. Okie dokie, James. That's a wrap on the games. We've obviously covered off what pods are coming out for the rest of the week, which means we have time for a few
Well,
questions.
you
You want to
look, I
cover
can
some
tell
off?
you latest word as of 11:30 in the morning is that Visser is on his way to Newcastle.
Okie dokie. Yep,
Tottenham
we'll
are
be
trying to
covering
buy,
off
or
all the
at
transfers of the
least
week.
get loan in of Randall Kolo Muani from PSG.
Ooh. Cool. We'll have all of them wrapped up, all the transfers wrapped up later in the week for you guys on the various shows as well. A lot of the questions on social media we have covered off, James, particularly around players like Watkins and what have you. A few that we haven't. AC Pilkington. If you're wildcarding now, who would you get from Vicario or Sanchez?
Sanchez.
Yeah, I agree with you on that.
Um, I think Porro, Romero, Van der Ven will still be okay. I think Chalaba and Adarabioyo would both be interesting for Chelsea. Just a little more consciousness of rotation for them when Europe starts. Random things like Reece James playing right-sided centre back in their build-up. Which, to be honest, I thought Reece James would play right back in the last game. I was surprised Gusto played again. Fofana, he's going to be knocking on the door at some point. Cucurella can be great, but you might also get into a position where he's sitting left-sided centre back. Porro Romero, if you go that route of Van der Ven, you kind of know what you're getting. And I think Vicario's obviously had to make a lot of saves in the first three games, but I think I would definitely prefer Sanchez. The things against him would have been in pre-season was would the Chelsea end up with Donnarumma or something like that? That feels safe now. Ultimately, Chelsea will be better defensively than Tottenham.
Yeah, I think so as well. I'd go Sanchez, but I don't know if I would go either of those two if I was on wildcard right now. But I don't know the rest of your team, so hard to comment from that point of view. Mohammed, he wants to know he's got one free transfer. Is it worth it to swap Milenkovic or Dorgu to Munoz or Richards, or just save it and play one of Milenkovic or Dorgu? Obviously, Dorgu's got Manchester City away, and Milenkovic is at Arsenal, right?
Yeah, but then there's a couple of good. So, like, we talked
I'd
about
keep
buying an Arsenal
Milenkovic.
defender. Did you say buying an Arsenal defender or not? The
No,
Palace defender.
Munoz only.
Yeah, I think there were 2 points of entry for Palace. And me and Rory had quite a bit of discussion about this on Correspondent Week, and he was quite insistent. He was like, attack now. Now, the West Ham away fixture in 5 looks a little bit more difficult than maybe it did before the weekend, but then we also feel even better about Palace than we did before the weekend. So I don't think those next 5 fixtures are particularly scary for Palace before they go to Arsenal in 9. Then I think there's another good run. So I mean, ultimately, Rory's right. So you can go and attack that now. So any of them at the back, but just I wouldn't necessarily prioritize. I would say selling Dorgu feels like you might be taking yourself out of a problem. You might not be. You might be gets back in the team. But what if it does become Dallo and Ahmad as the preferred option in terms of the wing backs? Yeah, I'd be tempted to move that. Who was the other player was considering selling? The Forest player.
Yeah, Milenkovic.
I'd get it. I'd just rather still keep for 5 and 6.
Yeah,
And
I
then you
feel
can
like
go
it's a
from
bit
Forest to
forced.
Arsenal in 7. That would probably be my take.
Two more questions, James. FPL Del Boy, what will it take for Pep to end up in the time for change of manager discussions? How bulletproof is he?
You want to tell everyone the conversation we had on Tottenham last week
What about remind me?
about Pep and him being in trouble?
Oh, we were talking about whether he was outdated as a manager, whether
Not
football's moved
not
on.
quite,
Not
but
outdated, but
as it
football
moved
moves
on,
on, and
yeah.
that's basically saying he's outdated. Look, Jose Mourinho is available in the market, Manchester City, if you wanted to go
I,
there and go
I
even
think Ten
more
Hag's been
outdated.
sacked now as well, so
I
I think he's
heard
gone
that
already.
too. Just take your pick from any ex-Manchester United manager. I think he's safe, right? He can do what he wants till the end of the season. But I
Correct,
think
correct.
if they carry on like this, it might just be a mutual parting of ways at the end of the season. Particularly when you look at the likes of Glasner doing so well, Hertzler doing well. It's not like there's not other good managers out there and available right now. Iraola. Yeah, I think he is bulletproof until the end of the season.
Let's give a little bit
Yeah.
of context because I know there's a lot historically been made about Tottenham's record against City, but Brighton have got a number of victories against City over recent years as well. So
They have.
they are 2 real bogey games for City, and it's 3 games gone. They wouldn't be the first team to lose like 2 of their first 3 and still go and win a title, but doesn't look likely to me at this moment because I think they'll be vulnerable in most games, actually. I agree with you. I don't think, if they lose the Manchester Derby and then they lose at Arsenal, I don't think there's a, right, Pep, we're calling you upstairs and you're going to go. I don't think that's the scenario. Might be something he looks at himself, is more like, I think Pep has probably earned the right to make the decision himself, or it's done very respectfully, like you say, kind of like at an end of a season, go, okay. But we're not at that point of conversation yet of talking about Pep's future. But I would add, I won't be surprised if it does become a thing this season.
Agreed. And last but not least, James, we'll talk about this more tomorrow on Tottenham. Abdullah says, "Who is more excited for the Planet FPL derby right now?" It's a 5:30 on a Saturday. You're going to the game, right?
Of
I'm
course, yeah, I'll
assuming.
be there. Yeah,
Yeah. I think us winning at Forest was the worst thing for that game because now if we were on 0 points, there's even more pressure that I would trust the team to maybe come out and do it. The fact that we have got points on the board now actually makes it worse. And obviously the flip for you, like I saw a stat that 9 times in a row you won at City and then lost the next game afterwards. Is that
yeah.
right?
No, it's a lie. I've
Oh,
seen that
okay.
stat as well. So,
Yeah, it was, and the way it was worded, it was the consecutive fixture. I didn't really understand what
and
that
can
stat
I
was about.
can I clarify because it does sound believable. Last season we beat City in the League Cup, and then we beat Villa a few days later in the league. And then you go, yeah, I know what you're going to say. You're going to go, it's league only. Okay, well, fine. So in Nuno's first 3 games, what did Tottenham do?
I don't know,
They
to be
won
honest,
one
James.
nil in each game, right? And the first one of those games was Man City. So unless we've beaten Man City 9 times in the last 4 years,
Yeah, which that was
sorry,
also very weird.
that's not happened, right? So
Yeah.
it sounds like a good stat. It's not true.
Okie dokie. I don't think what has happened at the weekend changes anything for the derby. It just does mean that the atmosphere at the London Stadium will be much more positive than it would have been had we lost. So you never know. Like it's a game to be played. But I would say I don't think it's changed anything in terms of excitement
I
for it.
think, look,
Just another game.
you're looking at a position where I think after the victory, you look like you're going to make some moves today. You'll be quite positive about things. I think Tottenham needs to do business today, or otherwise you go into that game more positive.
Yeah, it was just weird because you just bought another attacking midfielder for 55 million pound or whatever,
Ultimately,
you know?
the last 3 Planet FPL derbies at Westfield Shopping Centre have been 1-1. It would not be surprised if it's 4 in a row.
Yeah, I agree with you on that for sure. Righty ho, James. That's a wrap on this episode of Planet FPL. Listeners, thank you so much for tuning in. Make sure you're subscribed wherever you're listening to the podcast, or if you're on YouTube, jump in the comments. Let us know what you're thinking and what your team scored. That kind of stuff. Make sure you're subscribed, thumbs up, notification bell. If you want to support the show, patreon.com/Planet FPL. Obviously, the extra podcast, Slack community, prize leagues, and a whole bunch of other benefits as well, including access to FPL.team if you're planning your strategy out for the next few weeks as well. Give that a shout out.
And a meet up Friday. Shh.
Oh, is there a secret one coming happening?
Well, yeah, something's landed where it's possible. Yeah.
Oh, nice. I'm flying over to England on Monday. Shall I change my flight to come back early?
Yes.
Okie dokie. Stay safe. Look after yourselves.
You can't handle more than 2 drinks, so
No,
I don't
no,
know if
no.
it's worthwhile.
I don't even drink one nowadays, James. I have one and I'm done. Indeed. Stay safe. Look after yourselves. Ciao for now.
Thanks, everyone. As always, play it your own way and be nice to each other. Cue music, please, man child.